Share my screen. Yeah, so the last class for the ones that were here and the ones that watched the previous recording, uh, I was using whiteboard for Zoom and we totally had like a big mishap. Like I don't know what happened with the program, so we're just using Google Doc now. I don't want to type everything like a PowerPoint. I don't like PowerPoint presentations because doing these like long term, a year from now, months from now, I don't want to use the same content. So I'm just going to keep keywords on this like I did with the PowerPoint the first time, I mean, the whiteboard the first time I used it. And I'm just going to talk like I usually do. I'd rather you guys listen and just look at the main word I'm talking about than actually read everything I'm saying because it's not as genuine when I'm just reading off a page. And I really want you guys to feel what I'm going to be talking about with this lesson because a lot of people don't realize like your daily habits, like everything you do from when you wake up for like trading purposes, Monday through Friday, if you have a day job and you trade in between, everything you do surrounding trading is going to affect what you do and how you perform as a trader. And a lot of people, it's like, oh, I'm just going to wake up late. I'll show up like when I can. I'll get there at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern. I'll just look at charts and figure something out. You have no idea what's happened the first 2 hours of open. You don't know what happened pre-market. You don't know if any news releases came out. And that's why I want to start with consistency for the first overall starting point with everything. Because I mean, a lot of people, you guys should know, without consistency in anything, every day is not going to matter. Like one day of inconsistent habits, it's not the idea of like, oh, I stopped doing what I was doing. You're just going to come in tune with, I'm not doing it and I'm successful. I'm having good results. So I'm just going to keep doing the bare minimum as long as these results are still positive. And for me, when I first started trading, I would be up early. I would be in front of the setup. I would be waiting for setups, but I didn't know what I was doing. The consistency was there, but I didn't have the results. So I always thought to myself, like, what am I doing wrong? Like I'd start off everything I do. Like I learned from my mentors, show up on time, be prepared, always know what's happening before you do it. But I wasn't having those good results. So like with consistency, I got the basics down, and that's what you guys need to do too when you focus on successful trading. If you're showing up every morning, even when you lose, I'm at this point now because I kept being consistent, even though the results were not showing it. And there's a quote about like the stuff you do now may not show the results, but it's going to build to what you're trying to get to. You just can't, you're not living in the moment of what you're going to get to. And a lot of people, when they don't see the results, that consistency is just off the table and they're just going to find a way to make it work without putting the effort in. So with consistency, it's just like showing up, doing the same things every day, even though it's going to get boring. You have to do things that are uncomfortable, or even just like, this is boring. This is just irritating. I don't want to keep doing this because I'm not having positive results. I keep losing. The more you're consistent, you're going to find a flow with it. Like you're going to find a way to have favor in your side. There's always more to do with consistency than just, oh, I'm going to wake up at 9. I'm going to wake up at 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern. I'm going to be in front of the setup at 9:30. There's more than just showing up. Like it's all about the patience. And this is more stuff I'll talk about as I scroll down through this Google Doc. But like the patience, not going in on a play you know you shouldn't. It's all about being consistent with what you know your plan is. Are you going to buy at open if you're not good at open? Like be consistent with your actions. If I'm not good at open, I'm not going to play open. If like for me, I don't like open. A lot of you should know this by now. I hate playing open because I need a visual. I need to see stuff the day of before I just make a play. If I have a good historical reasoning, I will take a play, but I'm not going to size with confidence because historically my hit rate at open is not as good as after lunch hours or 1 p.m. Eastern. So I've learned if I keep that consistent mindset of I can't trade open, like I know I can't. It's not the fact like, oh, he's humble, he knows. I don't want to lose. It's selfish of me to not trade open because I know I'm going to lose. I don't want to waste that money. So I put all my effort from market open to about lunch hours of just finding setups and charting. That's all I do. I'll sit there still because I need to be consistent with how I show up and what I do every single day. And then we're going to get into discipline now. And this is one thing, just like consistency, it's basically tied hand in hand. Discipline with anything has to happen. Like it doesn't matter what it is. Outside of trading, I try and correlate life events with actual trading because one thing that I've come to like be pleased about with trading, my life has been so much more intact with who I am, just going off like what I've learned in trading, like being patient, waiting for the best things. Like you don't want to rush anything. And with discipline, it's just all about like you know you want something, and this is a good time for me to talk about like these big percent gains, 1,000% gains, 500%, even 100%. A lot of people, they're not disciplined enough to take those small gains, 25%, even 10%, or just trim a position at 10%. I even have these issues even to this day, and I'm pretty sure other people do. They're just not going to probably talk about it. They don't want to show that they mess up. I'll speak on this because every day I have that, like, I want to hold this position. Like, I finally executed good. I'm sized a little heavier than I should. I want to ride this out. I want to get 100% to make up for my losses I've had. Like, and you're thinking about these losses. The discipline that I try and keep is, if I can just make 5% account growth a day, if I can make 10% account growth a day, if I can just be green every day, $5, $10, it doesn't even matter. That discipline of just locking in these gains, it's not even like I have to. It's literally you just do it and you don't even think about it because your discipline is so focused on that growth, that long-term mindset, the longevity of trading. Everyone wants it so quick, and that's fine. Like, it's fine if you want it quick, but one thing that you have to realize, and people have probably experienced this that are watching this right now, you get stuff so quick, but it leaves so much faster. You get an 100% gain, you do it again, you make another 100% gain. You keep sizing heavy, like more every time you hit these wins. One loss, you just lost everything you just gained the past week, the past month. It takes one undisciplined trade of oversizing or chasing something that you know you shouldn't, because it's just like the emotions are kicking in. All that stuff is hitting at once. Last time I missed this play, oh, it went 200%. I just watched it. I was upset the whole time. Do you have discipline to let it happen? Like, can you sit here and just watch the chart? Like today, after that morning pump, we tapped out just over 4,000 on S&P. Were you able to sit there and just watch, even though you didn't make a trade? Could you just sit there and tell yourself, I missed where I wanted to get puts, I'm just going to watch this? You can chase a play like that and make money, and that's fine. But then I'm also going to talk about this later. When you journal that trade, what good things do you have to say if you knew, one, you chased it, two, it wasn't a setup that you initially wanted, you missed the first entry, so you chased it and you got lucky and made money? You're not going to win every single time you do something like that. So I try and tell people, like, with discipline, don't focus on the money or I missed out on this. Focus on what you have to do to get you 6 months from now, get you to where you want to be a year from now. Because if you hit, say you go full port and you hit 1,000%, you got that money so quick, you don't even know how to manage it. You don't know if I should withdraw. You don't know what to do. You're just going to be focused on, if I do this again, or if I size in half of what I just made and hit 100%, that's all you're focused on is the next part. It's not like, what did I do to just make this happen? Did I fall out of my context of my discipline to like not size that heavy? Jed said, happened to me on FOMC. I didn't lose everything, but lost a lot. I went against my principles because of the hype, and I shouldn't have. I never again. And I'm going to speak on this from my personal experience. And I was saying this just before I started the recording to a few people. Literally, when you go in on a trade during any news release, Francisco, I'll answer that in a second. This is all personal experience, historical, emotional trading from me. I'm speaking on me, not overall, just everyone. When I've traded events, whether it's PPI, CPI, unemployment rates, the housing market, jobless claims, FOMC, I get destroyed every time. And even if I'm right, like I was saying this, I'll be in calls and it will go up and it will barely move for some reason. Like some people, they make huge gains. Every time I trade news, unless I'm in like an hour or two before the news, I don't make money like I want to, because you're expecting this huge move. And then when it happens, it's like, I'm only up 50%. I don't want to sell. Like I was expecting 200%. We just jumped on S&P 50 points. I'm only up 100%. Like that's not right. People get so tied into this idea of like quick, like, oh, if everyone's hyped about it, I'm going to throw in this money because I'm going to make it right back. That one loss, literally, you're like, it's not even financially your account's done. Mentally, you're drained. You're scared to take another trade. You're scared to even execute. And that's one thing I talked to Coco about. If you don't execute, you can't learn. And if you execute and lose and you don't learn from that, you're never going to grow. So it's literally like a stair step. Like if you don't do the first step on the ladder or the stairs, you can't go to the next step. You have to execute. And if you win every time, you have to learn something. You can't just win and be like, oh, laptop closed, I'm up $200, I'm done for the day. Write down what you did. Like, did I execute right? Did I size correctly? Did I actually follow a plan that I've done in the past? Like there's so many things people just like, they take a result and they just move on. what did it take you to get to that result of a green trade or a red trade? Because when I first started options, I would lose and just walk away. Like I don't want to think about it. I don't want to look at this chart. I don't even have buying power to buy anymore. So why do I want to sit here anymore? And then eventually was like, I need to write my emotions down. Like, why am I losing so much? What am I doing repetition wise that's making me lose? Like, my discipline is not where it needs to be right now. I'm chasing this. I'm buying open when I at the time didn't know. But as I started tracking, it's like I'm losing it open 70 out of the 30% of the trades I take. Why am I trading open still? And then you look at, oh, well, all my trades after lunch, I'm hitting like 90% of them. So then I'm thinking, okay, discipline wise, I can't trade open. I can sit there and watch, but I had to learn that. I had to learn how to sit and not trade. You know how hard it is to not trade and you see something just going. Like S&P today at open. We had that quick dip, I think, and then we just took off and did like a inverse cup and handle basically. I knew we were going to tap out. The only issue was I didn't want to take that trade at 10:30 or 11 o'clock. I was so scared because knowing my history, I can't trade open or like before noon, before lunch hours. So I'm just so stuck on like what I know is best for me. And Francisco, he just said, do you have a signal in Rippy Global? I only teach right now, bro. I just teach to make you guys take and know self accountability, basically self efficiency. You guys need to learn, not just like, oh, there's a signal, I'm going to take it. You have time to look at a chart before you enter. A lot of the time, these signals, they'll go up 20, 30%, but they're going to come back to break even probably. You guys don't have to rush a signal. If you want to rush it, go for it. But I don't recommend sizing 100% what you want on the first like take, basically. Like if you want to size $1,000 of your full position, you can size one contract that's 200 and just size heavier if it drops. Bro, is there any way to reach out to you with a question during the day? If you're in the Discord, you can post it anywhere and just like at me in the Discord. I'll respond to you as soon as I can, bro. I mean, my phone's on me 24/7. Any like access you have in the Discord, just post it and then at me and I'll look at it. And if you did it like recently, I'll have to check again. Often you can get a signal at a better price than the person that signaled it. Yeah. So Scott basically just said how you can get a signal at a better price than the person that signaled it. It's not every time you're going to get a better price, but just like you have time to look at a chart. Like say you look at a chart and it's like this has room to go even higher, but the contract's already up 10%. It's not bad to enter when it's already up 10% from the signaler that called it. Like if the chart is aligned to what you like, you are taking it off your like historical chart watching that you've noticed. It's a setup that you've played on your own that you like also. Like don't think you have to rush to get in because a lot of these plays, they'll go down and come right back. You'll get a better entry. Size light on the like when they alert, size light, and then if it dips, you can add in if you want to. It's under your risk. I'm not telling you add in. That's just you have a lower risk when the price goes down. That's how I look at it. I get like my initial entry, I'm down 50%. Okay, well, size one contract. Now you're down 25% overall in the position because now your average is down. If it pushes back up to like where you bought the first contract, you're up overall. But you just have to manage what you can afford to lose. Like every trade I take, I look at the worst side of it possible so that when it does happen, I'm not surprised. And then as it moves up, I'm not freaking out like, holy crap, I'm up 20% that quick. I'm still focused on if this rejects, I have to watch out for my stop loss, the support zone for a call that may break down. So I'm always trying to figure out like the next step of the worst side of it. That's how I handle all my emotions so well. I'm never focused on, oh, this can go 1,000%. If it goes 1,000%, I'm still focused on, well, where's my stop loss if it comes back down? Am I going to put it at 200%? Am I fine with break even? So all throughout my trades, I'm focused on how much am I going to lose from where I'm at? Like, where's my stop loss from me being up 50% right now? Should I trim a few because I need to lock in profits? That's what I'm thinking of. Okay, so this kind of goes in with discipline, and I want to say basically everything. I mean, repetition, it's self-explanatory, but I'm going to try and find a way to really like implement this in a way that you may not have like thought about it. Like repetition, I get it's just like the same thing every day, the same thing every day. A lot of people don't realize you can have different results, but still have that same repetition of like the process to get to what happens. And that's where the whole thing with discipline comes in, or like waking up early or being there for the watching before the market opens, not just showing up and then just doing it. Because if you show up late and you do the same thing, like I'm looking at my journal, I'm looking at the historical charting from pre-market and open hours before I just take a trade, your repetition is the same. You're just not there at the same time. You can keep repetition going even if you're late to getting to the market to watch, if you're late to waking up. The discipline's gonna fall back, but as long as you keep the same reps, like you wake up, you like do what you got to do, you meditate, you stretch, you make food right away, you go check on your kids, whatever it is, you're gonna have that in your blood of like, I'm up, this is what I have to do first. And for me, I'm always clearing my mind. The first thing I do when I wake up, I'm thinking, I'm trying to write down my thoughts from overnight. I'm writing down like affirmations I have for the day. I'm focused on like, what do I want to happen today? It doesn't have to happen, but it gives you that clear mindset of like, if I'm thinking and writing down, I'm not going to chase a trade that breaks out. I'm not going to try and enter a trade I missed on the first entry. Eventually, when you do this every morning, you're stuck on that when you start the trade. Like when that happens right away, I'm thinking, I just wrote down this morning, I'm not going to chase. I can't do this because if I do this and I lose or win, I don't deserve that because that's not who I am as a trader. I can't just chase and make money and just expect myself to be happy about that because I broke my number one rule that I wrote down every morning, that I meditate with every morning, that I just talk to myself during like watching the market. Don't chase. Don't chase. The minute you chase and lose, you're not losing money. Like I said earlier, you're not losing your account. You're losing that mental capacity to stick to what you know, and that's discipline. That one mess up of not being on that repetition mindset and that wavelength of just, I'm not going to chase. I'm going to wait until later in the day to do it. Follow it. You have to stick this out every single day, and it gets boring. But eventually, that boring, if you love what you do, you just want to do it every day. The same thing every day doesn't become as boring. And plus, like with what we do with trading, results are never the same. So it's not like, oh, this is boring. Like anything can happen. You can leave one runner after trimming a whole position at 20%, and that one runner makes up the whole gains compared to what you just made on the trim. That's the kind of stuff that like it's unexpected. And if you manage the risk, it will just follow through with how you have it. Trends align, it keeps pushing whichever way you need it to. And you just keep in that, I'm going to trim and hold a runner. I'm going to wait and not chase because I know I can't do this. And if I do it and make money, I'm not going to feel satisfied because I broke the number one rule, even though the success was good. How do you really feel about that? And I'm going to talk about that more when we get to the journaling part of this. Okay. I should have asked this way sooner. You guys see the screen I'm sharing, right? This is like way late. I just want to make sure. Okay, yeah. Okay. So this is probably one of the hardest things, if not the one thing people just can't do. And this is why repetition, discipline, journaling, waking up early, like you have to get on that everyday schedule. Emotion is so hard, guys. Like I promise you, I'm not like the best at it. I have emotion, but I do so hard to not like portray it. I try to keep it out of my mindset. When I feel the emotion before I enter a trade, my first thought, am I sizing too heavy? Am I entering something that I shouldn't be entering? Like if I'm like not shaking, but if I'm trying to enter something and within not even 10 seconds of me thinking I want to enter this trade, if I'm questioning, why would I enter it? Like if I'm having emotion of like, is this really good? Like, oh, I don't know. I'm kind of scared. Why do I want to enter this? Like you have to really figure out why you're thinking that way. And that's when journaling comes into play. Like journal during the market when you're not trading, how you're feeling. Because then the next day, if you have that same thought and you do chase something, you're going to look down and be like, I just said yesterday I was not going to chase a play. And now I'm doing it. Like I need to fix that right away. Boom. You just made a loss into a lesson. Now, if you don't repeat that lesson, you're just going to keep having losses. But if you make sure you incorporate what you just figured out, like I know I can't chase, and if for me not to chase, I have to walk away when I have that thought of I want to buy in, you got to walk away. You have to find a solution to what the problem is, like right away. And if you can't figure it out, that's when you got to dig deep. And that's like the hardest part because you have to tap into that emotional side of what you probably don't want to do. And for me, I would always get emotional if I lost. So months of doing that, I never would be like, why am I getting so emotional when I lose? Like, what's so wrong with me? Like, what do I have to fix to make this emotion dimmer down so I'm not just upset when I lose? Because like I get the idea, it's financial freedom, it's money, but why are you really upset? Like, is it just because you lost? And if it is, figure out why you lost. Like, did you chase? Did you enter at the top for calls when you know like, oh, this is a heavy reject zone, but I want to catch the breakout? You have to figure out what not to do moving forward. Like you have to use those losses and find something out of it. You have to take the wins and find the positive to repeat what you just did to make money and you felt good about it. And I think the biggest thing for me when I don't want to say I lost all emotion, but I literally like you can ask anyone that I talk to with stocks on a daily basis or just like on and off in the Discord. I have no emotion when it comes to trading. I get in that zone, but when I do, I don't take the trade. I'll walk away. I'll just start texting someone. I'll call a family member and just talk to them on the phone because if I know someone that I can talk to or just walk away and I know it calms me down, I'm going to do it to get away from that thought of like, I'm freaking out or like, I don't know if I should be in this trade. I don't know if I should even buy into this. I find something that calms me. I start reading a book. I walk away, go to the kitchen. I step outside, whatever it is. And I think with me, I just learned that when you play charts, like I'm talking for me, zones, support, resistance, trends. The biggest fix for me with emotion was sizing light and just playing the chart. I don't play like a huge green candle. I'm going to get calls because, oh, it looks like buying pressure. Oh, a huge red candle. I'm going to get puts because, oh, they're selling it off. I wait for zones because historically, if they don't work, it's not my fault. Yes, I bought a contract, I lost, yada, yada. I'm playing off a historical probability that's in my favor. So when I size light and I lose, I'm not upset. That one trend or that one zone just didn't do what it did historically, though, like for the first time and however many times it's contested, and it actually did what I thought it would. So I try and find a way to put emotion into the chart and not into my pocket or into my financial mindset, my percent gains. If I play the chart, I sell off the chart, I enter off the chart, whatever happens, happens. That's literally how I'm able to trade and not freak out and not get emotional. Because when I do, that's when the journaling comes into play. Did I oversize? Did I make a play that I know I should never do again? Or did I make a play that I did in the past and I scroll through or I flip through my notebook? Oh, I did this back last year in December. I chased something and said, I'll never do this again. And I just did it. So now I got to work on that. What do I have to do to make sure I don't chase another play again? Everything repeats if you don't fix it. I promise you that. You have one big win, but you never focused on how to limit your losses, you're going to lose the account. I promise you, you're going to lose the account. And if you don't, huge props. That's amazing. But everyone that I've seen make quick money, I always tell them, come back to me in 3 months. Let me see how you're doing in 5 months. And they're like, bro, that's so far away. I'm like, that's the point. I'm doing this for the rest of my life. If you're happy about one big trade, you're emotional about it. You just made huge money. Now you want to tell people. I don't like talking about what I do. I just like to be there, help, moderate. That's it. That's what I like to do. And I tell these people, if you're so excited to reach out about this big win, you probably oversized and got lucky. Maybe you were red and you went green, and then you finally sold for a green trade for a win. Now you're like ecstatic, like, oh, I didn't have to sell for red. Talk to me in 5 months. See if that works out for you. If you didn't learn nothing, if you don't have repetition to keep up the same buying process, the same selling process, how to trim, like that's what it all comes down to. Because emotions it's going to drain you. It's not going to drain your account. It's going to drain you, which is going to drain your account. If you're drained, if you're emotional, it's going to have that domino effect on not just trading, but probably your life in general. And that's one reason why I've had to get away from emotion when I trade, because it does affect my daily life. And I notice people around me that I'm like taking care of and whatnot. If I have negative energy, that goes on them. And I don't like putting that kind of pressure on people. So if I have a small loss on the day, I'll walk away and not try and dig myself out of the hole. It's so tiring to try and go from red to green, because when you don't go from red to green and just go red to redder, you get so upset and then you're like, I should have never traded. Now the emotions kicking back in. Now you got to journal. Why are you so upset? Why did you trade again when you know if I have a red trade on a good execution trade, I'm not going to try again? There's just a center point you have to find, and everyone's different. For me, I just trade the chart. I size light. If I'm really confident on a setup, I'll size maybe like 15% of my account, 20% of my account, but I'll keep my stop loss tighter because I know size and heavy, a 10% loss on 1,000 is not the same as a 10% loss on 2,000. I'm losing more money. So I have to figure out a way to readjust before the trade, if that makes sense. Okay. This is one thing that I am going to speak on from a negative perspective first, because the first thing people are probably thinking is like, I don't have enough time to put into this. I don't have like the right schedule to put in the hours to learn. I'm not very big on like, you have to put in all these hours. It's more so like using your time wisely and making sure that time is like put into a good effect. Because you can study for 30 minutes a day, consistently for a whole year. And for one person that studies 2 hours a day, they're off for 4 days, they're back on for 20 minutes. That consistency is going to grow. And 1% a day is going to put you way farther ahead than someone going for 10% one day. Oh, I'm down 5% this day. From a mental perspective, I'm down percent this day. Like, you're growing slowly. They're doing this whole roller coaster, not staying consistent. There's no repetition, there's no discipline. When I would first start out, I would put in the hours because I had the time. But when I would like grow and I'd find communities, I'd find people to talk to about stocks finally that understood me from like an actual like emotional perspective with all this, I found out that a lot of people, it's not the hours they put in, but the time they used effectively. They would find a way to squeeze in 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, maybe before bed, they'd read like the Candlestick Bible book. I know that's a really good one to read if you don't know patterns or anything. They would find time. And there's a huge difference between like making time and finding time. A lot of people, it's just like, I'm going to put in 5 hours today. Well, how much of those 5 hours are you really taking in knowledge? How many of those hours are you actually like studying and not just like zoning out on your phone, texting on the computers, looking at charts? Are you really putting that time in to make it worth it? Because I would stay up for hours and I would put my phone away. I'd shut it off. I would not talk to no one and I would just zone in. I did this for so long. And of course, like, it's slowly paying off, but the hours slowly fade away when you have that success. And that's one thing I'm trying not to like come in tune with. Like, I'm having success, I'm not going to put the hours in like I used to. Repetition, that discipline. Because the minute you start putting less hours in, I truly feel like that success is going to slowly dimmer down. You're going to fall off of what got you there. So I try and stay super connected with what got me here, not just like, oh, I'm here and I'm doing it now. So I'm still doing the same stuff. I'm staying up late looking at charts even after I traded and looked at stuff the whole day. I'm reviewing everything. I'm reviewing every trade I take. I'm journaling my emotions. I'm journaling before bed, when I wake up in the morning. I'm always trying to find a way to like know myself more as a person, because it's going to translate into everything I do with my actions, not just trading, but just like life in general, for a future family, raising kids. So I'm trying to find a way to build myself all around the lifestyle, not just trading. Like, what does my lifestyle have to be to make success happen? Okay. I've touched on this, like, I touch on this all the time. I'm not going to say just a few. Mindset is so important. The long-term mindset is so important. And this is one thing, a lot of people, it's like they're not focused on, oh, I'm just going to do this. They're not looking at the long term of this. Like, you do realize if you truly like the trade, you can do this every day until you die. The market is not going anywhere. It's going to be tough. I can promise you that. But if you just do it every day, 5% a day, 1% a day, freaking 0.5% of your account a day, if you're consistent with that, see where you're at in 5 years. See where you're at in 10 years. If you can't wait that long, you're going to rush it. Like, the process of all of this is so important. And I tell people this when they're like, well, like, you took 4 years to get success out of it. Like, what made you keep going? I love what I do. Like, I love to trade. I love like working on myself, helping people. At the end of the day, like, what am I doing now to keep myself involved? Because the money's cool, but like Hassan would, Rippy guy would tell me this: the money does not mean nothing if you're not happy. And I literally like hit a point where it was just like, what do I want out of this now? Like, what do I actually want to do with trading? And I got put in this position, which was a blessing. And now it's like, I need to put these people in the same spot I was in and get them to where they want to get to. Because long-term wise, anyone can do this. Like, it's not hard to trade if you're just in tune with your emotions. I'm going to keep repeating this list: discipline, repetition, emotions that are minimized. It's not hard to trade. Like, you can make it work. I promise you. And the more you think about like months from now, even years from now, 10 years from now, you're not going to be focused on freaking 200% in one day with a full port. Because the one time you try it again and you lose, like I said already, your emotions are gone. The account is not the only thing that's gone. You're going to be questioning your entry next time. You're going to be questioning, like, should I enter heavy to try and make back these losses? Everything goes back to emotions. And then, like, to keep the emotions where they're at, you got discipline. You have to keep the repetition going with what you do every day. Like, it's a rough process, but it is worth it. And when you think long term, I honestly don't think there's one person that cannot make stocks work if they just focus on 5 years from now. Like, if anyone like is wants to do the math, 1% a day of like account growth, 1% a day for 5 years. I know like in 1 year that's like double your account. And I don't think any bank or anything can double your account in a year. If you say like, I need you to put this in a investment fund, no one's going to do double your account unless it's just like a big market, like push in a year or whatever. And that's why I tell people like, you have to realize like 20% a day is it's nice. 100%, it's amazing. But one loss and you're done. Not the account, your mindset. You're chasing to get the money back. There's more to it than just green and red. There's so much more to it. Okay. I want Coco, take 1% a day on a 10K account, $100. Yeah, literally. Johnny said, I've been trading for about 9 months. I've learned more about myself within these 9 months than I have in my 21 years of living. That is literally facts, bro. Yeah, Nick just said, yeah, facts. I'm kind of flying through this. We got like 30 minutes left. So I'm going to talk on what you just said, basically. I've been trading since 2018, literally July. I remember it all. July 3rd, 2018. I signed up for this like online program to learn. Started with penny stocks, found options like midway through 2021. Stumbled upon Hassan, got close with him. Every part of trading was hard. Even now, it's hard. I still have those emotional ticks. I still get frustrated some days from missing a trade, but I don't let my actions determine what happens with my results on the trade or on the day with my account. My account is always going to stay like zero trades on the day. Even though I saw the market do so much, I'm not going to force anything because, oh, I missed this. I have to make it up now. I've told Coco, like me and Coco are pretty good friends. I've told him, like, bro, I will literally not trade tomorrow and not even look at charts. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And of course, it's like, how can you do it? Like, you love this. I'm like, I love it. But if I had a huge week, I'm not going to throw it away by watching the market and like be hesitant because I had such a good success rate. Like, for me, the journey was nice. But when I hit a point where it's like big gain, big gain, big gain, I start to have like negative thoughts of like something bad is going to happen. Like, I'm going to have a loss soon and I don't know when it's going to happen. So I'm just kind of focused on like, what do I have to do to just keep the consistency? Even if it's me not being there for a day, it will calm me down to like get back into that mindset of like, remember where you started, remember what you're doing this for long term. Don't focus on you made like 1K a day every day this week and you have to do it again. I just won't trade and I'll come back the next week just calm and I'm snapped out of what just happened the week before. I forget about it. That's usually how I am. Oh, let me read a few of these again. Jed said it's still sometimes hard for me to sit on my hands, but I'm getting better. I agree with you on the open and an hour in. That's where I get destroyed the most usually. Yeah, I mean, like it's all everything I speak on is personal experience and personal like knowledge I've been through, not what I've heard, but what I've been through. People will tell me stuff and I don't understand it until I actually went through it and I feel the emotion. So I only speak on what I know. And then if you guys go through it or have been through it, you resonate with yourself what I'm talking about. And for me with open, like what you just said, you got the shorted open. I recommend you don't even, I mean, you can watch if you want, but if you know that you get dragged in, if you miss something or you see something that could be problematic, you may want to just not watch the first hour or so. Because for me, I had to do that for a while. I was unable to watch the market. So I would literally just like, I don't want to say stay in bed, but I would just like occupy myself with reading a book or going to the gym in the morning, making breakfast, sitting outside for a while. I would find a way to just like stay calm and not let my mind think about, well, what if the market's running? What if the market's doing this? I would try and occupy my mindset and not just stay busy, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure about any guests at all, Nick. I know Jarvis and Hassan are trying to work on something, but there's a lot of people that are just busy right now. But I will see if I can work out whatever, if that makes sense. Because I'm like, I'm gonna touch on this briefly. Like, I'm more so like I'm showing up to teach what I know, and then whatever's added on is like a plus, if that makes sense. So everything that like could happen is not even determined, but we're trying to work on getting more people to speak than just me. Hopefully that answered your question. Johnny said, what I noticed about myself today is I trade better while being in the red. Around the middle of the day or towards the end of the day, I make better decisions. Yeah, so reading that from my personal opinion, I do better because I can see what the actual chart has done. Nick, you want me to unmute you? You got your hand raised. Let me know. But no, like I just do better in the later of the day only because I'm so focused on like what already happened and I can see day of zones a lot better. That's one of the main reasons why I like trading later in the day and not just right off open. It's draining for me to trade open because of my reasoning. Like historically, I'm just not good at like I can't trade open. It's not that I don't want to. Historically, my results are just I can't trade open. And I just accept that fact. I don't try and prove myself wrong. Like you can do this, you can do this. I don't want to try. And if I do try and lose, it's just going to be the whole idea of like you've told yourself you can't trade open. You've had losses more than wins. Why are you still trying? I'd rather just focus on what I'm good at and not worry about like the struggle of like if I have a red trade at open, I don't want to think about, man, I know I shouldn't do that. Or if I win, it's like, oh, I won. Like this feels good. Maybe I can do it again. I'd rather just do what I know is best and just slowly grow. And if I miss a move at open, like it's fine. I'm not too worried about it anymore. And of course, this goes with the whole like I'm trying to tie stuff back into what's on the PDF document, but the idea of just like enjoying the journey. Like I enjoy not trading open. I enjoy sitting there and just watching and seeing people talk about what they think is going to happen. And I'm doing my charting. See, like when I see what they say, I'll chart what they think and then look at what I have. And I'm like, okay, I see what they're talking about. Like, I see their perspective. So I'm always looking at other people's perspectives on the market, the way it's going to move, but I don't listen to people. I just take into account what they say. That's the biggest thing I do. Because when you take in what someone says, it rewires what you're thinking. And if you don't know anything about stocks, then you kind of have to take in what others say and then figure it out on your own. But with where I'm at, I'm just more successful when I stick to what I know and what I know works best for me. And it's selfish, it is, but that's where my results come from. And it's got me to this point. That's why I switched. That's why I've switched from trading options into futures. I somehow can't get a grip on options, but futures just click so easily. Yeah, so I think the reason people say that with options compared to futures is only because the time decay and the Greek involvement with consolidation taking the value down. I know futures is like way more, it's just charts, basically, chart based. That's really all I can really think of. You said, what is a stock, the definition? I mean, I'm gonna be honest, bro. I don't know the actual definition for a stock, but I just know that it's like I mean, it's man, simple question I can't answer. I mean, it's a stock is literally a pricing share within the company's market value. It determines the market value and the market cap with like a division sequence. Okay, so I mentioned journaling. I'll just say a lot because I did mention that almost with every topic. Journaling is honestly all what you think you have to really like write about. How do you feel on the day? What made you think the way you did? For me, I'm very big on the third one on the list, which is like my emotions during the trade, because I'm a huge believer that your emotions are going to make you do basically everything. If you're scared, you may not trade. If you're feeling super energetic and you're like anticipation's heavy, you see something's going to like go upside heavy, you may feed into that like adrenaline, that anticipation, and you'll like buy calls on the breakout. So I'm always focused on like how was I feeling when I entered the trade? How was I feeling before I took the trade? How was I feeling after the trade? Like emotions are very important to me because end of the day, it's just like having results is nice, but what got you to have those results? That's like the biggest thing that I personally try and focus on. And I know that it's not easy, I would say, to like tap into the emotions. But as you trade and just like go through this journey, I truly feel like you just become intact with like what makes you make decisions the way you do. Like, is it the anticipation? Is it the like, I haven't made a trade all day and it's 2 o'clock. I have to do something now, or it's like I didn't do anything all day. People all have different emotions that tie into what they do. So I didn't want to make like specific lists of this is what I do, this is what I do, this is what I do, but more so just like why did you enter the trade? Why did you sell the trade? What were your emotions during the trade? Did you size heavy on your like overall position? Did you size like 50% of your portfolio on that one trade? Maybe that's why emotions were heavier because you were down 10%, which if you're down 10% on 50% of your account, you're basically down 5% overall, like off the jump. And that's a big drop for an overall account balance. Because then if you sell for a loss, you only have 50% of your account left to use. So it's kind of like, are you going to chase back what you lost? Are you actually going to use the rest of your buying power? I mean, I usually don't use all my buying power every day. If I have one good trade off of a light size, I'll just stop right there because my execution was good. I followed the plan I had before I entered the trade. I'm always focused on like, did I follow up on what I had planned? Did I stay in tune with my emotions? Was I disciplined with what my original plan was? Repetition, like, am I doing the same setup? Am I entering on that setup where I should? I'm always focused on like what I've done in the past and am I working and getting better on it moving forward? And of course, like the execution, was it the way it was before the play even like started with you buying it? Did you like see the play set up? I'm going to enter here because I feel good about it. Did you follow everything that you planned for? Johnny said, how do you journal? So literally, I don't want to, I don't like the word diary, but literally I just write. I write. Like I just write my emotions. And then I usually have a few questions that I try and stick to every single time I do it. Like per trade, I'm always saying, like, did I execute? Yeah, on paper. I write. I actually write. I don't know if you can see that. I actually write. So everything I write down, you can type, you can voice audio on your phone, save it in a file. But for me as a learner, I am a hands-on visual learner. So I have to write for me to remember stuff. Like hearing someone talk to me, it goes in one ear, it goes out the other. So I can't just like watch a video online and learn. I have to watch the video and take notes. That's how I learn when I write stuff down. And literally, I think your question was basically saying like, do you like, how do you write? Like, how do you journal? Like write down, speak it, type in your phone. But when it comes down to like the individual questions, like the first thing I do, I just write how I felt during the trade. Was I anxious? Was I calm? Was I smiling even though I lost? Was I upset when I won because my execution wasn't good? And after I write the emotions out, I get to the technicals. Okay, I bought in at this price per contract. I sized this heavy. It was this much percent of my account. Am I fine with that? Does that align with what I have to do to continue this successful streak, or not even streak, but just like what I know I have to do? So I always start with the emotional side and then work into the actual technical and statistical analysis of my entries, my exits, the chart set up with the trends, whether it's a zone, support, resistance, whether it's a pattern. So I always start emotionally and then I work down to the actual statistics. That's how I personally do it. When they say to trade the chart and not the P&L, what do they mean by that? I exit my trades based on the price. So that's one thing that was hard for me to comprehend when I would start trading. I mean, what they mean by is like if you enter calls on a breakout on the upside, you're entering on a zone break. So you should be like what they mean by like trade the chart. They're looking at the next time historically the chart has rejected and dropped. That's where they usually would sell or they take most of their profit. They look at the chart with the zones and they sell as it goes up, whether it's the fib levels, support and resistance, a trend line, a pattern stop is happening. So like it may not break out. And then I know like for me, I'll have 3, 4 zones on a chart and say I want to enter calls on the bottom support so I can see it like curl up. I see it starts to go back up momentum wise on the buying pressure. I'll just trim as it hits my levels on the way back up. But if those levels never hit, that's where a lot of people are like, well, how do I know to sell if it never happens? You have to base it off your emotions at that point. Can you afford to hold this and possibly lose? Can you afford to trim and then hold a few? Can you afford just to put a stop loss at 10% loss and let it happen? That's when, if the play doesn't happen the way you planned, like it doesn't move the way you planned right away, kind of sits there, kind of consolidates. It kind of just doesn't force a move that you were hoping. That's why I look at the downside instead of the upside, because if I'm focused on only the downside, I'm playing for that already. Then when it goes in my favor, I literally just raise my like thought process on the downside to break even. So like now it's like, okay, my worst case scenario is I break even on this trade. So I can't even lose money right now outside of fees, obviously. So I'm always focused on the downside because that way when I sell, I'm just selling based off chart. I'm not like, oh, I'm up 50%. Let me trim here. If I'm up 20% and the chart's hesitating, I'll just take a few contracts off or I'll sell the whole position, just be happy. If my emotions kick in and I'm like, I don't know if I feel good about this, I don't know if I want to hold this any longer, any doubt that I have during a trade, I'll usually just sell right away. That's just how I am personally, because if my emotions kick in, I'm not making the processing thoughts. It's my mindset like freaking out, and then it's split decision, like quick, like in and out. I got to get out, or I'm scared. What if it keeps dropping? Uh, hey, what's up, man? What's up? So Rocky said, since we were talking about lifestyle, what's your take on getting good sleep and workouts? When I was talking to a few successful traders, they always stress on the fact that it is very important to keep your body and mind fit. Just want to know your thoughts and your routine to keep yourself active. Yeah, so I'm not the best on advice for sleep. And I know, I mean, Coco knows this. I don't sleep that much. I get like minimum 2 hours, maximum 4 to 5, if even 5 hours. And I function fine. Like I always have energy. So sleep, I can't really speak on because I work well without sleep. If you need sleep to like process throughout the day and not get groggy or have your emotions like throw you off, like little stuff upsets you, you'll want to get more sleep. But like for me, I can sleep like 2, 3 hours and be fine for a whole day. Like I won't take a nap. I'm not upset. I'm just energized all the time. That's just how I am. And for the body with working out, I in the summertime I jog every day. Like I have to do something to keep my body moving. Every night I'll do push-ups and sit-ups. It's nothing serious, just a little something. And then just with the mind, I like to read, and I like to read growth books, like stuff that's gonna put me into a perspective of someone that I've never been involved with, like a hard, like I mean, just like mental books, mindset, spiritual books, meditation book, like how to stay in tune with who you are, not letting like the outside, I don't want to say world, but like the outside opinions of others really get to you, I would say. Because the biggest thing with trading, like it's all mindset. Like it's important to sleep, it's important to work out and have low stress, but like what is a stress reliever for you? I can't speak on what you should do. It's more so like, do you know what makes you calm down? Is it drinking what hot chocolate? Is it drinking coffee in the morning? Like what makes you calm down? What makes you lower that stress? For me, I like to jog. I like to read books. I like to stretch. I like to sit in peace and just think. I like to journal. I like to read books. I mean, I'm a simple person and I'm always working on growth. And that's one reason why I'm always happy to like wake up the next day, because I know waking up, like my first thought is, what am I going to learn today? Or what can I fix with myself to make myself a better person? I'm always trying to improve that. And this all started like probably a year ago, 2 years ago. When I first started trading, I didn't even care about who I was. I just wanted to make money. I wanted money. That was it. And sure enough, I'd lose and I kept losing. And then when I finally started the journal and I started to really take accountability for my actions, all the losses was my fault, all the wins are my fault. That's how I started looking at everything. So improvement is there for every type of result you have, whether it's success or failure. It's just finding like, how can you take what you just did and make it work for you where it's like you're still involved and you want to keep growing. Kenny, what's up, man? But yeah, this is mostly all I had to talk about. So any questions for the last 10 minutes or so, start typing them in the chat like crazy. Because I'm probably gonna stay after like 5, 10 minutes like I always do. Because I love talking, honestly. Can you talk about how you execute your buys at a specific zone? Do you buy as soon as it hits the zone or wait for a retest? Or do you look for a confirmation candle to close above or below on the one? Okay, so I'm going to pick this apart real quick. I don't like the 1 minute at all. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying for me, I always look at charts 15-minute and higher. I'm always looking at the larger perspective because small candles can confuse you. For me, it gives me like a huge head rush and I don't like it. I like to be calm. I like to be in tune, emotions like I've talked about already. So that's the main thing I want to point out. I'm always on the larger frames. And second, when it comes to execution for me, it's never really like, oh, it touched this zone, let me buy in. I'm always focused on the 15-minute. So it can wick and pull back up. I get that. But here in my mouth. But the biggest thing I'm focused on is like, if it consolidates at my zone on 3 candles on the 15-minute, that's not something to just ignore. Like, oh, we're holding at this zone I had charted from the last year, like the year chart or like the last daily, but on the year time frame. This is held on support and it bounces every time. It's never failed one time in the past year. I'm not going to ignore 3 15-minute candles holding at that level, wick down, come up. Next 15-minute candle, wick down, came back up. That's showing buying pressure every time that wicks down. So that's what I look for, is like a consolidation. I don't just look for, oh, it wicked, I'm going to buy in. Because if it sits there for an hour, 2 hours, you're losing value even though the stock price is not moving. That is the hardest thing I had to learn, because I would always think I'm going to miss the move. Well, if that chart bounces off that support level and then pulls right back down and makes a higher low, so like say the price is on the stock $100, it holds support at 99, it pushes up to 99.5, comes back down to 99.25. So it's making like that higher low, if you can picture that. 50 cents up, 25 cents down, 50 cents up, 25 cents down. You can probably get a better entry price on a contract every lower high that, I mean, every higher low that makes, if that makes sense. So I'm not in a rush on a wick. I'm not in a rush. Oh, it touched the zone. I have to get in. I'll wait and see what it does, because even if I miss the bottom, I can catch the next trend that's going to be intact off of those candles, if that makes sense. Johnny said, what do you struggle with? What stops you from entering your own trades? So here's the thing. I don't enter my trades. The trades enter me. And when I say that, I predetermine a contract price based off my zones for the chart of the stock. So I set a limit as to where the price is going to be if my zone contests. So like if I want to get puts, I'll look for a rejection on the upside and I'll chart this on the actual stock chart, and like I'll basically determine the price of the option contract I'm looking at and set a limit to buy in that zone on the stock chart, if that makes sense. I want to make sure. Yeah. Okay. So literally, like, I don't, it sounds weird. I don't enter trades. Like the trades they enter where my limit is, if that makes sense. Like I don't just buy, like buy bid, buy mid, or I'm going to buy here because it looks good. I have a preset limit if it comes up to that level. And like today, I literally missed the top by, I think, 0.15. On my limit was 0.80, and I set that when the actual contract was like 1.6. So it had to make almost an $80 move. Like it had to push up for puts, but the contract had to drop 0.8 value, and it only dropped to 0.95. So I don't care if I miss. If I would have filled that, that would have been my only trade on the day, because those ran to like, I mean, Kenny, I'm not going to say nothing because me and you both already talked about this earlier. But literally, I take the option premium chart, I take the stock chart side by side, and I use the Greeks, I use the delta, the theta, the gamma, the IV, intrinsic value. I use all that and find a zone on the chart that I love, and I'll find the price of the contract if that zone touches. That's how I trade. I always have limits set like minutes before it could even touch. Makes sense. You set fills on your predicted zone. Yeah. So literally, like the zones I have, I'll use the Greeks and just determine what the price of the contract is on a rough estimate, basically. Because like there's a lot of times I'll say, like, I'm looking at Netflix here, I want to limit at 1.1. The price is like 2.3. And it's like, why are you setting it so low? Well, if you look at the actual stock chart, I want to catch it when it hits this zone, because going off the Greeks and the terminology and the numerical whatever, that's around the area that price of the contract will touch if the actual stock chart has that pullback. That's how I do all my trades. It also takes away emotion, honestly. Don't chase the trade. Let the trade come to you 100%. Coco said we had a 1.2 limit on SPX overnight. They dropped to 1.35 only, so we missed, but they also ran the 2.75. Yeah. So literally, like my overnight plays, I'll start looking for an entry on SPX. Like this is how, like going back to your question, I'll literally, like the contract will be like 4.0, 4.5, and I'll find, let's say I want to get calls on SPX overnight and the contract's at 4.5. I'll find the heaviest support in that area where it's currently at, and I'll calculate how much the contract will be if it dips to that level before a certain time overnight, because theta plays a role in dropping the contract. The IV will play a role. So I try and predetermine this, and I set it, and I just go to bed. I size for 0 and I go to bed, because then if I get filled and we keep dropping and I'm in calls, I'm not going to wake up screaming because I full poured and I'm down 50%. Are there recent times when you have abandoned your own rules? I abandoned my rules today and I got lucky. And I can talk about that later, but let me see what else people are saying. I abandon my rules, like, I don't want to say every day, but if that thought comes into your head, you have the chance to like push it out. You don't have to sit there and be like, man, I should really, like, I don't want to miss this drop. Boom. Recognize that. I'm going to chase if I do this. I can't think that way. So every day I'm abandoning my mental rules of not thinking that way, but I don't let the actions overtake the thoughts. The thoughts stay there. I don't execute on the thoughts. That's the hardest thing about emotions. You're going to have thoughts like that every day. I promise you, you will. It's just that like discipline of saying, I can't do this and I'm not going to do this. Do you set hard stops, or how do you handle your stops? So Scott, usually when I size, I usually size for zero every time. So when I'm in a trade, if I'm sized to the point where I don't want to get zero, like I don't want it to go to zero, I don't want to lose the entire trade amount. I'll find a zone and try and calculate where the contract will be priced if I have to cut when that zone breaks. So if I enter with $1,000 and I'm like, I don't want to lose over $800, like I can lose 700, I'm fine. I can lose 600, I'm fine. I'll find a zone and I'll calculate how cheap the contract will drop to the point where, okay, if this stock breaks this zone, my contract's only going to be down 50%. That's less than what I wanted to lose at the max. So I can afford that. I'm entering this trade. My stop is 50%, but it's off the zone. But I know ahead of time, I'm going to be down 50%. If this zone breaks, I'm selling right at that point. So I know this zone breaks. It's not just the zone breaks, I'm out. I already know, okay, 50%, 60%, I can manage that. That's fine. I'm going to enter this. That's how I do my stops. Rocky said, how do you balance your personal life from trading? Because from what you say, it doesn't stop after market closes. You need to work on it in different forms even after that. Wouldn't that affect your time with others in your life? I ask this because even after market hours, I consistently think about my plays and my action plan for the next day. And by doing so, I feel I am not spending enough time with my friends and family. So I'm actually going to say a quote that Rippy God told me not even like a month ago. It is lonely at the top. And as you grow, you're not losing people. They're just not growing with you. And I'm sure a lot of you just heard that and are like, that's so true. Some of you are like, I've never heard that before. As you grow, people are not going to, like, you're not losing people. If someone really cares about you, they're going to want to like figure out how you're growing as a person. How can they contribute to help you grow as a person? I personally cut off a lot of people to pursue what I have been doing for the past few years. And I regretted it in the moment, but now that I'm surrounded by so many great people and like I'm teaching people right now how to get to where I'm at, like this feels amazing because I'm helping people. I've tried helping people in the past that I cared about and I knew personally that did not want help. You guys don't know anything about my personal life, where I'm from, and you're here listening to me talk because of my actions and my results and my position of where I've gotten to at this point in my life. So for me, it was just like, how bad do I really want this? Like, does it really outweigh the friends that I may not have 10 years from now? Does it really outweigh like going to the bar? Like, does it outweigh having fun with friends? Like, that's what you have to really think about. Like, do you want to risk what makes you happy now for what is going to set you up for success years down the road? Like, that's one of the biggest things I had to really put into perspective because I want this so bad. And hopefully you hear my emotions as I talk with all this. Like, I love what I do. And now that I am helping people like this that want to learn and don't know anything about me, I have to show up for you guys, even though I'm already doing this every day. I have a bigger purpose now because I'm trying to show you how to be successful. And that outweighed all the friends I lost, all the people I had to cut off, all the times people were like, you're stupid for doing this. People that still don't think I'm doing this the way I'm doing this. Like, I had to find a way to put my passion above being accepted or just being looked at as who I used to be instead of who I want to grow into be. That was probably one of the hardest things. So managing the time, it's honestly just how you feel. Like, if you want to put in 15 hours a day, like I would every once in a while with stocks, you can, but you have to realize the effects it will have on people that don't understand where you're coming from and where you want to get to in life. If they truly understand what you're doing, like I have a few friends still, they've been telling me, like, I knew you could do it. Like we always knew you just needed time. They're still here, but they understand, like, I'm not going to be able to talk every day. I can't hang out once a week. It may not be even once a month, but I have that like connection with them and they understand what I want to do in life. I thought I had more messages. That was basically it. Um, I think I answered your question on that. Kenny said also one point to note is that the beginning, it takes a few hours out of your day, weeks and months. As you progress, it gets easier. That's a huge thing. And I mean, Kenny, if you want me to unmute you, I can, so you can talk on that for a second. But I mean, if you just want me to, I can as well. Because I'd like to hear your perspective on that, if that would be fine with you. So just let me know. Oh, he's I got you. But yeah, so like just going off what he said, when you start off, like you have to put in time in anything you start. Like there's no, I'm gonna put in 30 minutes a day when you know nothing about stocks. Yeah, good luck with that in a few months. I would put in so many hours. I would like it would internally, it was so draining. It was so aggravating. But then as you see the progression and like you see yourself growing, You see the effects of not just trading, but like your actual life is falling into place. You learn who to keep around you, who to not let be around you because it drains your energy. It drains where you want to go in life. As you progress, like Kenny said, it gets easier. It gets so smooth. Like it's just a schedule. It's so like it flows so easily. Like as you do it, you don't do it out of like force. Like I have to do it. You wake up, it's like I get to do this again. Like I get to wake up and trade because I can, not because I want to. So many people can't do it because of their schedule or their finances, or like they just don't want to put the risk in. We're risking money every day, but we're managing that risk. And as you do this, as you lose, as you win, it gets so easy over time. So easy.
Hello?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Yo, and Breezy.
What's up, bro?
What's up, everyone? Yeah, so just to touch on that point, pretty much everything Breezy said already. To answer that question, like I'll tell you, like, and Breezy has a lot of passion in it. I have a lot of passion in it. You see everyone who has passion in it. And one of the things I would like to say is that, like I said, it gets easier as you manage. At first, it's gonna seem like everyone in your life is just like disappearing. They're just not on the same path. Your mental kind of path of what you want to do with your life, where you want to go, how you see different things is not the same. And you have to kind of understand that, like, that's okay, because that's kind of what makes, and I don't want to say like, I'm not a really big a believer of like everyone wins, right? I think the people who put the most time into what they want to do in the craft has the best and the most success, right? If I give you a simple example, everyone knows Shark Tank, right? Those 4 sharks, those 5 sharks, they're not sharks and billionaires from doing the day to day in their 20s and their 19, 18, 20, 25-year-old, time period. They put in a lot of time, they've made a lot of sacrifices. And as life progresses, right, you're going to start realizing, like, let's say you're 20 right now, you put 2 to 3 years of this studying, trading, paper trading, practicing, live trading, learning as much as you can. I'm telling you, in 2 to 3 years, and you'll probably see it all over Twitter, see it on Instagram. Look at all the top traders now, right? They all tell you it takes usually somewhere between, and everyone's different, 2 to 3 to 5 years to become profitable, consistent, and understand and and develop actually an edge where they can create a system of profitability. Once you have that down, you're going to start seeing, at the same time as while you're doing that, your life is going to synchronate to that. And what I mean by that is very simple, like this. Right now, you're saying, someone made a comment, and I'm not to call you out. It's a great question. It's just very, something to think about. It's like, okay, right now I'm trying to trade. I'm spending like 9 to 4 looking at the market. I'm also working 9 to 4 from home or at an office. And then after work, I'm going to the charts. Next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock. And then I'm doing it again and again and again. We get it. It's part of every trader's journey, right? As you do that, as you start familiarizing yourself with specific stocks that you like to trade, different setups, and that's what the edge part is, right? Pretty much figuring out strategies that work according to, and I always say, trade like your personality. If you're someone who gets a head high from quick profits, then you're a scalper. If you're someone who likes to take a trade and kind of just sit in it, come back, walk away, come back to the computer later, see that you're up some profit or maybe down, and you're going to reassess the trade, okay, you might be a swing trader, right? Whether that's throughout the day, whether that's throughout the week. Maybe you're someone who likes to swing monthly contracts, and that's just your style of trading, right? As you develop those strategies, as you develop those edges, right, and those systems or systems of trading for yourself, you'll realize that that's going to correlate right back into your life, because now you're going to say, okay, at first I was putting learning as much as I can about how to develop an edge as a priority. Now I can start prioritizing my life again. So whether that's like, I think, and Breezy was talking about going for a walk, right? So like, for example, I trade 9 to 11. That's usually my strategy. The rest of the day, I'm still on Discord, but I'm not at the computer. I might be doing some other stuff. I might be on my phone. And I usually go for a walk, like usually like 12, 1 o'clock. Just go for like 1, 2, 3 miles, right? Just go around the neighborhood, kill 30 minutes, kill an hour, right? You still have your phone. You figure out how you could set alerts, right? You figure out how to set and define your risk of how much you're willing to lose in a trade, right? Because if you think about it, any trade you take, right? Some people might not tell you this, but every trade that you take is a losing trade as soon as you enter that trade. And what I mean by that is this: you are already at technically zero. And right when you press that button of buy, in that split second moment, you're technically negative on the trade. Why? You're already risking a certain amount of capital. So that's why we say in options, right? Or trading options, or not really stocks, but options, it's defining your risk, right? So if you're already negative on the trade, the rest is monitoring that trade based on the time period. And this all wraps back into your life of, if you feel, like Breezy was saying, if you have a feeling of wanting to do other things, you want to go out, you want to do stuff, then you have to trade according to how you're feeling and how your personality is, how your behavior is. Otherwise, you're just going to have to shift and mold yourself into the person that you didn't expect to be for this type of lifestyle. Hope that helps.
Hey man, that was beautiful. I'm gonna give you a few claps, but not too loud because my mic. But no, like, and I'm not trying to like go off of what you said, Kenny, but everything he said is literally like spot on. I resonate with everything he just said because I've been there and I understand what he's talking about. And a lot of people don't think about it that way because they're so focused on what they see. They don't, no one talks about what we had to do to get here. No one talks about the struggle for so many years. No one talks about blowing accounts, because if they show that where they're at now, why do you want to learn from them if you're only hearing about the bad stuff? I'm going to talk about the stuff that you don't want to hear, but you need to hear, because that's the only way to get better. I went through hard years, financial issues, losing money, blowing ports, being like depressed because I thought this would never work. And I'm losing all these people along the way. It all works out at some point if you just don't give up. And this is like a huge off turn, but Alexander said, on days like today, gap up and down, gap up and go. How do you determine how you determine if you want to hold for more than a scalp as opposed to a bigger move? So this all ties back to emotions, and like everything I say, I'm speaking on my personal experience with this kind of stuff. I'm never trying to catch the whole move with a full size position, because if I do, the one time I'm wrong, my port is going to be gone. That's how I focus on that. I'm all like before I said, I always focus on the downside before the upside. As I'm up in green, 25%, 50%, I'm trimming as it goes. If I sell every contract but one contract, and I'm up, let's just say $1,000, and this last contract is $200 for a contract, I'm guaranteed to make $800 if that last contract goes to zero. If you are content with leaving one contract and you figure out, okay, if this contract goes to zero, I'm still green on this trade, $800. If I sell this contract right now, I'm at $1,000. Can you handle losing that 200 if you're wrong? That's the biggest thing I look at when I'm in with runners or I'm in on any type of trade. If I can hold a contract to zero like that, I'll just let it go. But then the bigger question is, when are you going to sell that last contract? Are you going to raise a stop loss? Are you going to put a stop loss at 200% when you're up 400? Are you just going to let it go and whatever happens, happens? Are you in the money so that if you do let it go to the end of the day, it's going to sell for you at some price as long as you stay in the money? That's why I don't like the hold, because my emotions get so involved with, oh, I'm at 800%. I want to get 1,000 though. I just want that number. If I only have one contract and my last trim was like at 100%, why would I want an extra 200% gains from 800 to 1,000 when I'm up 700% from my last trim to where I'm at right now? That's how I start to think about it. I'm up 700%, but I just want an extra 200%. Is that 200% really worth it? That's how I start to think when I'm up that high on one runner, two runners, a whole position. Think about what you can lose compared to what you can make if it goes where you want it to go. Johnny said, I unknowingly put in about 6 to 8 hours a day for the past 9 months. I'm just laying eyes on the charts. Bro, listen, I dream about charts. I wake up and I'll just be eating breakfast. I'm thinking about charts. I'm walking outside. I'm thinking about, like, this is going to become so natural that it scares you probably. And eventually it's just like, this is my life. Like Hassan has told me, if the market wasn't here, I don't know what I'd do. At this point in my life, if there was no market, I don't know what I would do. I literally don't know what I would put my passion into. I don't know what I would put my time into. I've put so much into this that it literally is my life at this point. And I love saying that because I found a passion out of something that was struggling me for so many years. And now at this point, I can bring people along the way to learn and not F up like what I did along the way. I can tell you what I did. And most people, they don't just hear it and they're like, I'm not going to do that. You tell someone something, they're like, okay, yeah, sounds good. They do the action, they have the result you told them not to do. And then they're thinking, man, he was right. Or man, I should have listened. It's not about like I should have listened. It's okay, now I have to listen because you can still mess up again. Like it's all about like everything I just talked about on this PDF document. I'm going to scroll back through just to go back from top to bottom real quick. You got to have consistency, discipline, the repetition, little emotion, long hours. You don't need the long hours, but it will help you. It sucks, but it will help you. The long-term mindset's huge, and you have to enjoy the journey. If you don't enjoy the journey through the wins and the losses, I don't really see what you're doing it for outside of financial freedom. If that's what makes you happy, you're going to put the work in to enjoy it because end of the day, you're working for the long term of I want money. I want to have that financial security so that my family doesn't struggle, so I can put my future kids in a good position and not fail. And they can put risk in that I couldn't because of money. That's where you have to really put in the perspective, like, why are you doing this? And before I end this recording, does anyone have any other questions? And I'll stay for a little bit and just talk if you guys want me to, because I don't want to length this out too long. So, I love trading, man. It's something about winning in the game of, yeah, literally trading is you versus you. And as you do it more, it becomes more of like you're versing the hedge funds, the market makers, the big money. Because if you, that's why I look at like big time frame on zones. It is you versus you, but everything is about like algorithms and the systematic setups. Like it's not just, oh, the market's going up. There's a reason it's going up. Look in the past, like look in the historical data of these charts and these tickers. Why is it going up? Was there heavy volume in that same spot in the past? There's always a meaning to what is happening. It's not just like, oh, we're running. Well, what's the buying pressure, the selling pressure? What's the overall market sentiment? Is a specific sector hot and another one's not? It's all about finding that edge. Yeah, and, Kenny, I appreciate you talking, man, because I know that helped me. I definitely learned something from that. I learned a little bit about you too. But yeah, I'm gonna end this Zoom. So I hope you guys not in the Zoom, but in the recording. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna pause this real quick.